What's up guys? So today I want to talk about some of my favorite zoom lenses for the Sony a6300, the A7S II, and also the A7R II. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first lens I want to talk about is the Canon 16-35 f4 version 2.0. And the reason being is that this is actually much sharper than the f2.8 version that they have available, which is actually more expensive. Now this is a full frame glass, which means it's going to work great on the A7S II and also the A7R II. Now one thing to note is that if you are using this on the Sony a6300, make sure you use a speed booster instead, because that makes that f4 into an f2.8. Also, a benefit about this lens is that it does have image stabilization, which is a great bonus for the a6300, which it does not have in-body image stabilization like the A7S II or the A7R II. Now, something to note about is that if you are using this for the A7S II or the A7R II, the bokeh is not going to be as great as the other lenses that I will talk about today. Now this is a Canon L glass, which means the colors are going to be beautiful and it's also weather sealed. Now because you do need an adapter, this setup can be pretty expensive at about $1,600 compared to the other alternatives that I'm going to talk about today. Now for this next lens I want to talk about probably needs no introduction, and that's the Sigma 18-35 f1.8. Now this is an APS-C type lens, which means that it's going to work best for the Sony a6300. However, you can still use this with the A7R II in Super 35, which is going to work flawlessly, or even on the A7S II using clear zoom at about 1.5. One of the things I do like about this lens is that it does stop down to f1.8. You're also going to get a nice image quality because this is an art lens from Sigma. So another thing about this lens is that you can buy a dock station to fine-tune the lens. Now this lens is pretty heavy compared even to the Canon 16-35. It doesn't have image stabilization like the Canon. It is not weather sealed like the Canon. And like I said earlier, it is best if it's used on an APS-C camera or Super 35. Now this next lens is probably going to be best if you use it with the Sony a6300 because it is an APS-C, unless you use an A7R II at Super 35 or you use that crop sensor trick with the A7S II. Now this is a native E-mount lens, which means you do not need to use an adapter. Also, it's going to be the most inexpensive of the bunch at about $700 or $800 depending on when you're watching this video. It is ridiculously light because it is a native mount. Also, it's going to be great if you're going to fly this on a gimbal, a quadcopter, or if you want to vlog using this lens, it's going to be great because it does have autofocus, which works fantastic on the Sony a6300. It also works great on the A7R II and also the A7S II. Now, something about this lens though, it does only stop down to f4, so it's not going to be as sharp as the other lenses, especially the Sigma. And also, it's not weather sealed either, so just keep that in mind if you do consider this lens. Now this lens is the widest of the bunch at 10-18. It has a really large field of view. Also, it does have image stabilization. This is a plus for the Sony a6300. So the biggest complaint I have about this lens is that it's fly-by-wire. So if you rely on manual focusing, you're not going to be excited about it compared to the other lenses. But if you're just going to get up and go and just use autofocus, it is a great lens. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Also, if you guys like these types of videos, let me know by leaving a comment down below. Follow me on Snapchat for behind the scenes. Thanks again for watching, and you will catch me in the next one. Adios.